It is 6:30. I'll call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for December the 5th, 2023. We do have a quorum present. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the November 21st, 2023 meeting. And if there are no corrections or additions, may I have a motion, please?
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, so the motion is by Aram, the second is by Rick.
Oh, I like that.
Push your buttons. Vote now.
We're getting feisty up here.
I know, they're getting the hang of it.
Motion passes 7-0. The next item on the agenda is a regular hearing. This is consideration of 2 alternative standards associated with landscaping and building materials for a commercial remodel located at 2325 South Stemmons Freeway, legally described as Lot 2, Block A, Vista Ridge Village Edition, Phase 1. This is zoned Light Industrial District as requested by Colton Wright, Vista Property Company, the applicant, on behalf of Vista Ridge Village SCLP, the property owner.
Good evening, Commissioners. This property formerly housed the Barnes & Noble. The property owner would like to subdivide that lease space. One space will be occupied by Skechers and one will be occupied by a future tenant to be determined. During the initial building permit submittal, the planning review was missed, so the project is under construction currently. Fortunately, the project is actually increasing the percentage of brick on the structure. It's currently about 37% brick, and it's going to just over 50% brick. It is consistent with the rest of the shopping center in terms of using the brick pillars and columns to accentuate entrances and other key points on the building to break up those facades. The brick columns will have the same patterning. There's some articulated brick within the columns that will match the rest of the shopping center. In addition, they're requesting an alternative standard to allow the existing parking lot trees and the landscaping in front of the building to be reworked a little bit in lieu of providing the 1 tree per every 8 spaces, which would be 20 landscaping trees. We have approved similar requests in the past where trees were relocated or fewer trees were put in due to constraints with running irrigation and that cost not really being proportional with the changes being made to the facades. In this case, you can see the proposed elevations here. So you can see where there was a Barnes & Noble with a center door, there will be 2 doors. One will be the Skechers. They're adding additional brick columns to frame those entry points. And then the landscaping at the front is being reworked a little bit just to better reflect the 2 lease spaces. So they will be closing in one portion of the landscaping but expanding it, and then relocating one portion of the landscaping so it's more centered between the 2 lease spaces where the main entrance used to be, so that there's clear pathways to the doors now. I also have for you a street view so that you can kind of see what the Barnes & Noble look like. So we have a similar color scheme. The brick will all match that. We'll just have an entryway here and an entryway here. And with that, staff is available for any questions.
Michelle, I've got a couple of questions. When was the original subdivision approval for that particular, how long was that?
It was in June.
I'm sorry, the original subdivision, the original
the original development of the shopping center?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
It's been there at least 1995? Okay.
Yeah.
Second question is kind of particular to the site. I haven't been there in a while, but I do seem to recall there was an elevation change in front of. Is there any way to, I didn't see any boxes for the I always thought that would be nice there. That's the only, with the elevation change from the building annex to the north to that's, but the improvements they're talking about are just going to keep it at grade? Any planting they do?
I want to make sure I understand the question.
Okay. On that particular item, you see the polygon to the very top in the corner there, the gray. Is that all at grade, or will they be installing a box or anything like that?
It'll be at grade,
Okay.
similar to how it is today, yes.
And last question. In 1995, this may be for Richard, was that the amount of parking there? Was that within our guidelines then, and is it still in our guidelines?
At that time, it at least met the minimum. In most cases, the retailers had formulas for even more than what our minimum was. So that's, it's very typical. Communities like Lewisville are typically way overparked. And we don't really seem to have the level of shopping that we used to. I think most of the parking facilities were designed for, Christmas Eve, when every parking lot space is utilized, and that just doesn't, the whole retail industry has changed since then.
There is.
Our current standards now in the overlay are an average of one space per 300 square feet.
And if that was applied to this, there'd be less?
They would be overparked.
Would be in abundance, yes.
Yeah, they would be overparked. I will say that our framework plan for this area, as it is in the I-35 overlay, does promote the idea of redeveloping some of that parking to put in additional buildings, potentially in the future. So that would be kind of a vision for this area, is there might be ways to redevelop this shopping center to utilize that parking for other commercial purposes.
We're hoping as the demand increases that they will look at that option. So that option is available to add more square footage.
Beautiful example of an opportunity for shared
Yes.
parking. Yeah.
There is, I live right behind it, and there's a bunch of parking there.
Yes.
And they're turning it into, and this is my, complaint about it for 1 second here. So they're turning it into an 18-wheeler parking lot out there. They're parking all these 18-wheelers in the front there. And I keep hoping the city one of these days will come through there and tell them they can't do that. But
We have done that, yes. So that was brought to our attention because we did notice it in the aerials, and we did get with our code enforcement team, so they have reached
Okay,
out.
Good.
Do it every day.
And just one last comment, that MacArthur extension, I'm not even sure if that's MacArthur continued or
It's a
MacArthur
private
/ parking
driveway,
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime you see speed bumps installed and something like that, it always seems to me to say maybe it wasn't a good idea to begin with. If there's a way that could be incorporated in any future plans, that'd be great. Maybe signalization or something to slow the traffic down.
We see a lot of those type of redevelopments. When they start adding additional buildings, they'll put in roundabouts in strategic locations
That could be a.
to calm the
Lord knows they
traffic,
have enough space.
along with bulb outs at the major intersections. And so, like I said, usually the template that is offered in the I-35 redevelopment plan and the overlay is to incorporate more pedestrian amenities, and that does tend to slow the traffic. So that is something that we hope is in the future for the shopping center.
Thank you for allowing me to be curious. Thank you. That's all I have.
I wondered, do you know if Barnes & Noble is leaving Lewisville altogether?
I don't believe that they have another location in the city. I haven't seen that come through.
Okay, well, I just know they changed their location in Flower Mound, but I didn't know if they were going like over where the Target is or anything, but that's too bad.
We have not heard.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you have for staff on this? Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, commissioners, any discussion? Concerns, questions? No? All right, then I will entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Motion is by Karen. Second is by Jack. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0.
Commissioners, this item will be considered by the City Council on Monday, December the 18th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we have some announcements.
Well, the only announcement we have is to make sure and check your calendars for our next meeting on December 19th. I know it's getting very close to the holidays, but we currently have 2 items scheduled on that agenda. So if you do plan to be out of town and absent for the P&Z meeting, if you'll please let Patty know so that we can make sure that we have a quorum.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. And following that, the next item is adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
Motion?
Motion's by Rick,
Second.
second by Aram. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0. We are adjourned.
Well, how did baseball end up?
I will be.
Scholarship in the office?